So as we are waiting for Professor Yunus to come, very quickly, we have collaborated with the Yunus social business platform, and we believe that there's something very interesting happening here. The mandate or the kind of work that the Yunus social business is doing and what we are really wanting to achieve is exactly the same. And it just makes sense that we actually bring these two platforms together to really working towards the social cause that this country is actually wanting to look at. And in this light, the Shared Value Summit is happening wherein we actually have the finest speakers from across the world. We've had Professor Anil Gupta, Justin Backley, Vivek DeBroy, and some of the experts from the industry. And of course, the best one was the young kids we actually had from the schools and things, which I believe has been the most fascinating session. So the summit is actually about bringing economic objectives and social objectives together. And so that is where if we are able to create those business models and create the next realm or the next stage of capitalism. So that's what this summit is all about. So a very quick introduction here. In fact, we also launched the Social Progress Index in the morning today, or at least announced it with Niti Aayog. So Niti Aayog and Institute for Competitiveness are coming out with the Social Progress Index for the level of Indian states, cities, and districts. So it's a multi-year project that we are doing. And this is, I think, which creates a huge collaboration. So yes, we have Professor Yunus here. So I'll leave the stage for him now. So over to him.
Okay, great.
Hello, everybody.
Thanks a lot for joining us, sir.
Thank you. Good to see you. And thank you, too. I'm talking to both groups. Not there. We're delighted. We had a very important event here today, starting and launching of corporate social tank. This is the social action tank. This is what we launched today. This is important because several corporate bodies in India have agreed to join hands so that they can create social businesses to address the problem that we see around us. This is an issue that I have been raising for many years now, kind of encouraged by the work that we have been doing in Bangladesh and later on spread in other countries, and it goes on from there. And types of things that we do every time we come up with the new experience, which we never heard before. Then somebody comes up with an idea and start launching that idea as a social business. In Bangladesh, we have done, on the healthcare side, we have done lots of those social businesses, like eye care hospitals that we have done as a social business. We now have 3 eye care hospitals running in 3 different parts of the country. Each one is self-reliant in terms of recovery of the operational cost. And also, fourth one is under construction. And each one, when they started earning money, they can pay back the investment money that we give, and that becomes equity for new investment for another eye care hospital. So the same amount of money can go on to one after another. As you get your money back, you can invest in another one. So that kind of very encouraging. And instead of in kind of charity structure where you give the money to run hospital for 1 year or 2 years, and you run out of money, then you have to raise money again and do that. It's very difficult to find the money. And in the meantime, your cost goes up. You need to have more money to run it, the same thing. So you're in constant pressure on sourcing funds to run the same thing. If you design it as a social business, it doesn't have that pressure anymore because it's self-contained. You can generate your own money, continue to do that, continue to improve as you go along. We created an energy company called Grameen Solar, Grameen Energy or Grameen Shakti, to bring solar home system in the villages of Bangladesh because there's no electricity in the villages. So we created this energy company some 20 years back. And we are almost 2 million homes now with the solar energy, with the solar home system. So that immediately gave access to electricity and anything related to electricity. This year, we are also moving into solar irrigation pumps so that you can run your irrigation pumps with the solar power of the solar energy. So that's a new direction that we are having. And once you have installed those irrigation pumps with the solar energy, then during the idle time when you don't need irrigation, you can use this energy for other purposes, running things where electricity is needed. So that's another thing. We have nursing college as a social business in Bangladesh and continues in doing that. And we have one company called Grameen Distribution, which sells products house to house in the villages. So the women in the village kind of became the retailer, the house retailer. You have a point where all the items are gathered and women can come and collect them and sell it, pay you back. So that way your products are sold. And we particularly aimed at selling social business products. So you have your own marketing channel. You don't have to worry about what marketing channel will be like. So that's what we are trying to do. As more and more items come into it, we can distribute it through the villages, house to house way. So that is another way, and we have retailing shops where you can buy this stuff from the retailing system that we have. So this is also growing. It creates employment opportunities for women in the village. So they become entrepreneurs, not job seekers, because they work on commission basis. Whatever you sell, you get your money on that one, and you can do it in spare time. You can do it full time, as much time as you have. So this is another kind of social business. We have one lady from a young woman who did her master's in marine biology in Chittagong, another district, another city in Bangladesh. She wanted to serve the rickshawalas for midday meal, because she found that she felt that they don't get a good meal during the lunch. They spend a lot of money, but very bad quality food they have to eat. So with her own initiative, she created a little business to give them good quality food with the least possible cost. So she came up with this. Now she serves about 600 meals, midday meals. The demand is increasing every day because quality is good, the price is so low that people can believe that you can have a meal with that kind of money. Then schools are coming to her to make a contract that serve the midday meal in the schools for them. So that's another one that was coming up. So the idea is to spread on other countries that you saw some of the presentations here in many countries. I mentioned about Colombia, where we work. There are programs in Haiti, in Brazil, in Albania, Macedonia, in Uganda, Tunisia, and of course, India now. Action Tank is taking place. This will be something very focused, addressing the business people to do things. And we are very happy that in very unusual quarters, we never thought that there will be any interest for our work in social business. Very unusual, because I was invited by International Olympic Committee president in Lausanne, where the headquarters is of the International Olympic Committee. After discussion, he was very impressed by the idea of social business, and he wanted to know how he can use social business idea in his work. So I suggested, why don't we make the sports world have a social dimension? Sports is a single-minded focus on the game, on the sports that you are focusing in. Very little room in paying any attention to any other thing. So I said, no, that can be changed. He said, how can we change that? Can you give ideas? So one of the ideas we discussed is a selection of the Olympic city, where the next Olympics should take place. The procedure he explained, that the process starts about 10, 12 years back, and you have to apply, and there's eligibility list. You have to fulfill all the eligibility. You have to give the proof that you are fulfilling all these eligibility conditions. And then we go through it, and then we inspect, etc., etc. It's a long process. Finally, selection is made about 8 years, 9 years before the game itself. And then they continue. So I said, well, one easy way to do that, if you have, say, 50 eligibility conditions, make it 51. The one that we would like to add, ask the question, how many social businesses you have in your city? That will be eligibility condition. Some will say none, some will say I have one, whatever there is. This will be grading, so you got grade for one, somebody done, zero. Since it will be in the list, once they will read the list, everybody is running around to create some social business before they apply. So this way you encourage, they become familiar, because they would like to know what is social business. Now we have to do some social business, otherwise our city will not be selected. So this will create awareness in that. And so this will be beginning, and there are many things can come out of this involvement that you do. So we discussed many other issues. Then he invited me to come to Rio de Janeiro, for the Olympic this year in July, I think. He invited me to address the entire Olympic Committee, International Olympic Committee, to explain how sports should have a social dimension in which way. So I said, okay, I'll come. So I went there in Rio as a guest of the International Olympic Committee. They also give me another honor to carry the Olympic torch. So I had double duty, did the Olympic torch, and then addressed the Olympic Committee. So I discussed that there is some kind of a glass wall between the sports world and the other world. So we have to break that wall, which we can all do the things. I said, sports world itself has problems of particularly young athletes. When they go over 30, 35, that time is gone. They can't be competing in anything. So they have whole life in front of them, but nothing to do, because they are no good for the sports, for the games they play. They are sidetracked and so on. New celebrities come, their names are forgotten. I said, what happens to those young people? Many feel lots of psychological stresses because of that, and many look for jobs. They are too old for jobs, etc., etc. I said, well, we can handle that. We can create social businesses for them to run, for them to work. And also, as I said, we are not job seekers, we are job creators. We can make them entrepreneurs in a social business way. So those kind of ideas they like, they want to integrate it. The first one that responded was Paris. So I was invited by Paris mayor and Hidalgo. Recently, actually, I'm coming from another visit to Paris. We just signed an agreement with the city of Paris. And Hidalgo declared, first she did one of the beautiful houses, an old house. She declared that as a social business house. She dedicated it to us and say, you set up your office in this building. Said, what we do? We do social business for whole of Paris. We mobilize everybody, the businesses, NGOs, and all the foundations. And city will be behind you to make it happen. So our job is to create social businesses and so on. And also she reminded that the city of Paris is also a candidate for becoming the Olympic venue for 2024. So this would help them if that item appears in the eligibility list or something. So the announcement that we made in the press conference before I came here, we signed an agreement with the Olympic Committee there, Olympic Candidature Committee, and Mayor Hidalgo and me. Together, we are saying that we will design the whole Olympic next to Olympic 2024 Olympic. 2020 Olympic will be in Tokyo. 24 Olympic will be in, hopefully, they are hoping, there are candidates in there. And they say, one of the important thing, the reason I'm saying that, the important thing that their announcement made, it was an MOU agreement that we made, that the theme of the 2024 Olympic will be achieving 3 zeros. These are the things, these are the themes that I usually keep on promoting around the world, so that we should be working for 3 zeros. And these 3 zeros are zero poverty, zero unemployment, zero net carbon emission. So city of Paris adopted 3-0 as the Olympic theme. So everything they do will be done in the form of whatever sports are taking place, whatever arrangement they are making, have to address one or all of these 3 zeros. Zero poverty, zero unemployment, zero net commission. Even if you are building a new stadium, you have to make sure they reflect your attention to these three zeros so that these three zeros can be incorporated in the design and the use and the future use of this stadium and so on. Like they have to build accommodation for some 12,000 athletes, lots of housing issue. So how to make this housing appropriate for these three zeros so that this can be used for poor people, their housing problem can be solved. It's not given out as a big bonus for officials or somebody who have these houses and so on. Also make sure that you create employment and entrepreneurship among the young people by these enterprises that you'll be creating. Everything has to reflect these three zeros in everyday work. So this is something exciting for us to make it happen. We are trying to find out how many new ideas can be put in the Olympic design for 2024. So this is a new direction. Sports, this brings us closer and closer to the sports people like we're talking to business people. Already France, in the shape of Action Tank in HSC, the one that we are discussing, they already have that. They are very strong partner of this relationship that we built with the city of Paris. So they will be one who will be pushing us through this, and many other businesses and NGOs and others also joining hands. Youth organizations will be joining hands to make Paris, according to Mayor Hidalgo, Paris should be the world capital of social business. That's what the public announcement was. So this kind of encouraging that one city in Europe is taking this so seriously and voting a whole building dedicated to social business. And then this will be a quarter of the social business operation throughout the city. The rest, I would just add one more twist and stop. The other thing which makes me feel happy about the social business is the acceptability in the academia. Many universities now coming forward, setting up social business centers within the university as a research center, as formal education and learning centers. So now we have about 30 such universities around the world, top universities in many cases. Like Renmin University in Beijing, which is one of the top universities in Beijing, in China. King's College in the UK. Glasgow Caledonian University in Glasgow. Also in Kasetsart University in Bangkok. National Central University in Taiwan, and so on. It's many universities have opened that. So more and more universities are signing up to make it happen so that they can offer courses in social business. It's not only we do as a business sideway, but the classroom has to teach them. Many business schools are opening those courses in their curriculum, adding this curriculum. So that way the young people are prepared to choose which side of the business they should be getting involved with, whether social business or classical business, whichever business they would like to do, but they know both sides. This is one area. We just had a social business academia conference in Paris, in HSC, the business school in Paris. We had about 15 countries, universities who had joined us, many different universities. We had about 40 papers were presented. There were 63 papers were submitted. We selected about 40 of them, which were presented in the academia conference. So this is again a new venture for us to see the business schools are doing that. Halt University, another university which is just getting ready with their big venture in, offering social business, making social business as the core of their business school. So that's kind of one higher degree. They're not just sitting as center. They said this will be the core of our business school, the social business. So that will be something also very interesting for us. During the conference, we signed the agreement with HSC Montreal. So they set up a social business center in Montreal. So those another thing that when they do, everything that we are doing on the ground will be studied by them, discussed by them, there will be a research report by them. So that will kind of bring the researchers, outsiders, with their dispassionate look up, they can go deeper into what we do, what it means, how to do it in the right directions, what needs to be done, what is missing in the system, and so on and so forth. So all this together, it gets, makes us very feel very encouraged. The last one that I would add was the WWF, the one environmental organizations around the world. They are very interested. We had a meeting with the WWF. They want to set up with their initiative a series of social businesses for environmental related, particularly recycling. Lots of materials need to be recycled, particularly they will be focusing in the first phase, they were discussing plastics, how to get the plastics out of the system. Several things. One, in the daily life, all the waste that we make on the plastic, how to get it back into the system and recycle it so that it doesn't clog up the whole world. There's a whole plastic ocean covering miles and miles of plastic right in the middle of the ocean. How to get to that. And there are many rivers clogged up, canals clogged up with plastics. So how to clean that up as a social business, not as a contract you sign, clean up the rivers and so on. You clean up once, and before you know, it's clogged up again. So how to make sure it's a continuous process. In the meantime, discourage using non-biodegradable materials for our daily use. So these are important developments in the social business area. And on top of it is what happened today. It's one of the most amazing and wonderful development that happened in India, Indian Corporate Action Tank. This is something which will ring bells in many, many places. Particularly, this will be very carefully studied by all the business schools, all the social business centers around the world. Students will be looking at it, studying it, encouraged by it, inspired by it, and think about what kind of world that we can build. Because we don't have to accept the way it is. It is the way human beings in history behaved, that they always create the things they want. They don't accept the thing they got. So this is our challenge. We want to create the world that we want, not compromise ourselves with what we got. Thank you very much.
And thank you, dear.